How's it going, everybody? My name is Noah Holly, and welcome back to another episode of the Pride Report. It's episode 23, and as you can probably tell, I am not filming in my room. I was unable to because there is a tree stump getting grinded directly outside of it, so it's just causing so much noise. I haven't been able to focus, and I can't film in there. So today's show is going to be a little bit shorter than you're used to. I'm only going to be recapping last night's games and previewing tonight's action, but it still should be a lot of fun. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. It was another big night in college basketball. Fourth-ranked Michigan State traveled to Iowa, one of the very worst major conference teams, and survived the scare of a lifetime, topping the Hawkeyes 96-93. A lazy defensive effort on MSU's part kept upset-hungry Iowa in the game from the opening tip till the closing seconds when a half-court heave from Nicholas Baer bounced off the rim. If it weren't for a series of wasted possessions in the final minute or so, Iowa would have likely earned the win. Michigan State is winning games, but they aren't having an easy time doing so. Granted, this team is still a little ways away from reaching their potential, but they're never going to get there if they fall asleep on defense like they did last night. In other Big Ten action, Northwestern stunned 20th ranked Michigan, riding a big night from Bryant McIntosh to the 61-52 win. Don't look now, but the Wildcats are starting to find some rhythm. They've picked up 4 of their last 5 now. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that they are going to make the NCAA tournament, but if the Wildcats can stay locked in and continue to shut down opponents defensively, well, crazier things have happened. Xavier escaped Butler in overtime 98-93 last night. The epic showdown between senior stars Trayvon Blewett and Keelan Martin was everything we hoped it would be and more, as Blewett scored 26 points on 6 3-pointers, and Martin had 34 with 6 threes of his own. Xavier picked up the crucial Big East win thanks to Blewett's late-game heroics. The senior hit numerous big shots down the stretch, with none bigger than the NBA-range three-pointer in overtime that locked the game away. This was a truly impressive victory for the Musketeers. To go into Hinkle and knock off a Bulldogs team playing its best basketball of the season is one thing, and to do it after conceding an 18-point lead and giving up all the momentum is another. Now, I understand that Xavier has defensive issues, but I like this team's chances to make a big run in the NCAA tournament. They can score from anywhere on the court. Combine the leadership and clutch shooting of Blewett, the dominant post presence of Karam Cantor, and the toughness of role players such as Quentin Gooden and Najee Marshall, and you get a recipe for postseason success. Kansas pulled away from TCU 71-64. Devontae Graham led the way with 24, and the Jayhawks defense clamped down on TCU late to grind out the victory. I talked yesterday about how off nights from their stars could prove too much to handle for a very short-handed Kansas team, and that was nearly the case last night. If it weren't for a gritty defensive effort and spirited performances from Graham and Udoka Azubuike, the combined 5 points from Malik Newman and Savine Makayu could have proved disastrous. This was an important game for Kansas, who is looking to get back on track before a brutal 3-game stretch in mid-February that features back-to-back home games versus West Virginia and Oklahoma and a road game against Texas Tech. It was a huge game for TCU as well, but they fell short once again. Heartbreaking losses have become the story of the Horned Frog season, which is unfortunate considering how they looked like one of the best teams in the country early in the year. Tennessee finished off a season sweep of Kentucky, edging the Wildcats 61-59 in a nail-biter. A 3-point jumper from Lamonte Turner gave the Vols the lead in the final minutes, and an emphatic breakaway slam from Admiral Schofield put Kentucky away for good. Tennessee moved to 8-3 in conference play, while Kentucky lost their second in a row. If Kentucky can land this plane, will there be any runway left? The metaphor, which John Calipari used last week, is the big question surrounding this Wildcats team. Now, there's not as much talent on the roster as there was in years past, but we saw how Kentucky played in the second half against West Virginia, and we saw how they played down the stretch against Vanderbilt. The Wildcats have potential, but they only have a month to realize it. Personally, I don't believe that Kentucky will hit their stride and find a rhythm at any point down the stretch. There's no Malik Monk and Bam Adebayo that the Wildcats can improve around. They have to improve as a team. And I've seen enough of Kentucky's struggles playing together to have serious doubts about the possibility of that. Let's talk about tonight's games for a little bit. We got a really big one tonight. At 8:30 p.m. on Big Ten Network, third-ranked Purdue hosts 14th-ranked Ohio State in a crucial battle for Big Ten supremacy. It's the first of back-to-back make-or-break games for the Boilermakers, who of course also face Michigan State on Saturday. Be sure to tune in to tomorrow's show if you want to hear my thoughts on that game. But anyway, Ohio State is an interesting challenge for a multitude of reasons. First of all, they arguably possess the Big Ten's toughest defense. Second of all, Keita Bates-Diop is a serious problem. Bates-Diop, the front runner for Conference Player of the Year, can hurt you from all over the court. He is a matchup nightmare. Purdue has extended their nation's best winning streak to 19, but it has been far from smooth sailing as of late. The Boilermakers are starting to consistently receive their opponent's A game, which is probably going to be the case tonight as well. Regardless, I expect Purdue to earn the win. They are by far the most complete team in the Big Ten. The Boilermakers have yet to reveal any weak points. At this point, I will continue to pick Purdue until they give me a legitimate reason not to. Number 2, Virginia goes on the road to face Florida State at 7 p.m. on ACC Network. Virginia sits at 11-0 in conference play and comes into Tallahassee with a 14-game winning streak. The Cavaliers are the model of consistency. FSU, on the other hand, has been one of the toughest teams in the country to figure out, but they are starting to find their footing in the ACC. I like Florida State's athleticism. The Seminoles are a very aggressive team that can get to the basket and draw fouls. However, when they're unable to control the pace and run the floor, the offensive production suffers. And there's no controlling the pace or running against Virginia's suffocating defense, so this is going to be a very tough challenge for Leonard Hamilton's bunch. Auburn hosts Texas A&M at 9 p.m. The Aggies are getting healthier and playing some of their best basketball of the season. In a dominant 83-60 win over South Carolina last weekend, A&M showed glimpses of the team that was absolutely untouchable back in November. If they can carry over that momentum into tonight's game, Auburn could be in trouble. Villanova is back in action at 7 on CBS Sports Network, taking on a St. John's team that has been the talk of college basketball lately after their shocking upset of Duke last Saturday. Villanova is a whole different animal than Duke, however. The Wildcats are much less prone to poor shooting performances, mental mistakes, and defensive lapses. The Johnnies have hung tough with the best of the best all season long, but I find it very unlikely that will be the case tonight. As always, if you want to see who the CPP staff has emerging triumphant in each of these games and more, head down to the description below for tonight's pick'em. Unfortunately, that is going to do it for tonight's episode. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to subscribe and to turn post notifications on. I really need to turn my ringer off. But anyway, I really appreciate you paying me a visit. I hope to see you tomorrow for episode 24. We got a lot to get to. It's going to be a big episode. But with that being said, I'm going to end this show right here. I'm out. I'll see you guys.